Good evening. Tonight we're diving headfirst into the murky waters of immigration law, specifically the Alien Enemies Act. This dusty relic from 1798, a time when powdered wigs were all the rage, has reared its ugly head again. The Trump administration dusted it off, seemingly finding it an appropriate tool to fast-track deportations of immigrants, particularly those from Venezuela. Now I know what you're thinking. 1798? John, is this another one of your historical tangents? I promise you, it's relevant and frankly, a little terrifying. The use of this act has ignited a firestorm of controversy, dividing the nation along familiar lines. On one side, we have the administration arguing it's a necessary measure to protect national security. They paint a picture of dangerous criminals, specifically members of the Venezuelan Tren de Aragua gang, threatening the very fabric of American society. On the other side, immigrant rights groups are crying foul, decrying the act as a blatant attempt to circumvent due process and target a specific nationality. They argue that the evidence linking these individuals to the gang is, to put it mildly, flimsy. The administration's claims have been met with skepticism, with critics pointing to a lack of transparency and a disturbing pattern of targeting specific groups. This isn't just about legal technicalities, folks. It's about fundamental fairness, basic human rights, and frankly, whether we're going to let fear dictate our actions as a nation. Buckle up, because this is where the story takes a dramatic turn. Just when the situation seemed its bleakest, the Supreme Court dropped the legal equivalent of a mic drop. In a late-night order on April 19, 2025, the court temporarily slammed the brakes on the Trump administration's deportation plans. This wasn't a full-blown victory for immigrant rights groups, more like a cautiously optimistic hold, please while the legal eagles sort things out. The court's decision sent shockwaves through the legal system, with many questioning the use of such a rarely invoked law. The administration, never one to back down from a legal brawl, immediately requested permission to deport the Venezuelan detainees under different legal grounds. They maintained their stance that these individuals posed a significant threat and should be removed ASAP. The court's order, while temporary, offered a glimmer of hope to those facing deportation and their families. It also highlighted the deep divisions within the court itself, with Justices Thomas and Alito dissenting from the majority. This case is far from over, folks, and the stakes couldn't be higher.
Breaking news.
This isn't the first time the Alien Enemies Act has stirred up controversy. This law, passed during a time of heightened tensions with France, has a long and checkered history. It has been used sporadically throughout U.S. history, often during times of war or perceived national crisis. One of the most infamous examples was during World War II, when it was used to justify the internment of Japanese Americans, a dark chapter in American history. The act essentially grants the executive branch broad powers to detain and deport non-citizens deemed enemy aliens during times of war. The problem is, the definition of enemy alien is disturbingly vague, leaving it open to interpretation and potential abuse. Critics argue that the act is a relic of a bygone era, incompatible with modern legal standards and international human rights norms. The Trump administration's attempt to dust off this archaic law has reignited the debate about its constitutionality and its potential for abuse. This case, therefore, has implications far beyond the immediate fate of these Venezuelan detainees. It raises fundamental questions about the balance of power, the limits of executive authority, and the very essence of what it means to be a nation of laws. Enter the American Civil Liberties Union, ACLU. Never one to shy away from a good legal Donnybrook, especially when fundamental rights are at stake. They filed a flurry of lawsuits challenging the use of the Alien Enemies Act, arguing that it violated the detainees' due process rights. Their legal argument hinged on the lack of a fair and reasonable opportunity for these individuals to challenge their detention and potential deportation. One of their key arguments centered around the deportation notices given to the detainees. The ACLU claimed that these notices were woefully inadequate, often written in English, which many of the detainees couldn't understand. Imagine receiving a life-altering legal document in a language you don't comprehend. The ACLU argued this was a clear violation of their right to due process. The ACLU's lawsuits presented a powerful challenge to the administration's actions, highlighting the human cost of these policies. The legal battle raged on, with each side presenting their arguments and the fate of the detainees hanging in the balance. Section 5, A Glimmer of Hope, the District Court's ruling. The case landed on the desk of Judge James Hendricks in a Texas district court. He listened to both sides, weighed the arguments, and issued a ruling that surprised many. He denied the ACLU's request for a temporary restraining order that would have halted the deportations. However, before you jump to conclusions, there's a plot twist. Judge Hendricks, while acknowledging the government's assertion that they didn't intend to immediately deport the 2 migrants named in the lawsuit, didn't completely shut the door on the ACLU's case. He left the door open for a broader ruling that could protect a larger group of similarly situated migrants. This ruling, while not a complete victory for the ACLU, provided a glimmer of hope. It suggested that the court was, at the very least, willing to consider the broader implications of the Alien Enemies Act and its potential misuse. Section 6. A setback at the Fifth Circuit. The battle continues. The legal roller coaster continued as the case bounced up to the Fifth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals. The ACLU, hoping for a more favorable ruling, appealed Judge Hendricks' decision. However, the appeals court, known for its conservative leanings, delivered a blow to the ACLU and the detainees they represented. The Fifth Circuit, without mincing words, denied the ACLU's appeal. This setback highlighted the uphill battle faced by those challenging the administration's immigration policies, particularly in courts seen as more conservative. The legal battle lines were drawn, and the stage was set for a potential showdown in the highest court in the land. Section 7. A divided court. Justice Alito's dissent. The Supreme Court's temporary order blocking the deportations, while a significant development, didn't come without its share of drama. Justice Samuel Alito, known for his conservative views, penned a scathing dissent, arguing that the court had overstepped its bounds. He argued that the ACLU hadn't provided sufficient evidence to warrant such an extraordinary intervention. Justice Alito's dissent provided a glimpse into the deep ideological divisions within the court and the high stakes of this case. It also highlighted the complex legal questions surrounding the use of the Alien Enemies Act, questions that the court would eventually need to address head-on. Justice Alito's dissent, while not unexpected, underscored the fact that this case is far from over. The legal arguments, the political maneuvering, and the human toll of this legal battle were far from resolved. Section 8. The Alien Enemies Act in the 21st Century. A dangerous precedent. The use of the Alien Enemies Act in the 21st century raises serious concerns about its potential for abuse and its compatibility with modern legal standards. This case, while focusing on a specific group of Venezuelan detainees, has far-reaching implications. It forces us to confront uncomfortable truths about our history, our values, and the kind of nation we aspire to be. The legal battle over the Alien Enemies Act is a stark reminder of the fragility of our rights and the constant need for vigilance in defending them. It also highlights the crucial role of the courts in safeguarding our democracy and ensuring that the rule of law, not political expediency, prevails.
If you enjoyed this breakdown, smash that like button. It helps more people find these videos. New here? Subscribe. We post every Monday and Thursday to keep you ahead of the political circus. Because let's face it, in today's world, the shenanigans never stop. See you in the next one.